All right, everybody, welcome back. It's another chat loop back off, and today we're going over K3s with a D. Take it from here.
Okay, thank you, Hadi, for having me here, and welcome you all for this CLBO that we usually do on each Thursday. So, for today's topic, we do have K3s. So, before even starting with the everything like how the K3s started and then what actually do, let's move to where everything is start like everything starts. So, let's move to the CLCF landscape. So you can find a lot of projects, and one of them is K3s. Okay. So if you want to quickly start with any of the projects from the CNCF landscape, you can just directly come here. You can just search on the Google uh, CNCF, and you can just search for landscape. The first link you're gonna go through is this one, and that's where you have to search for each and every project. So if you filter it out, you can find project wise like the like basically the levels like maybe the graduated, incubating, sandbox, or if you want to manage them by the tags or categories and more things. So you can just search it from here. So I'm just gonna quickly search K3s here, and we're gonna find this. So today we're gonna learn and we're gonna like talk about like K3s. So this is again a CNCF projects, and it's in sandbox category till now. So how things started for K3s. So it's basically a lightweight Kubernetes. So when I say lightweight Kubernetes, so let's say if you want to test out something out of the box, you just want to run something quickly on and just want to test any, let's say, a sample website or anything you are doing in your IDs or something like that, you can just do it quickly. Okay. So that's how it's so lightweighted. It can be just installed in some commands. We will see demo later, but this is how it is. So if you see like this is it's joined in the sandbox category, or the if you see the maturity level of this project, so it started in 2020. So that's when it's have got its first sandbox level, and then maybe in future it will be in incubating or graduated, how the things go for it. Okay, so if you see here, so there are lots of stars on the project we have got. There are contributors around 270s, and then the first commit that happened is January 2019. So that's when the first commit happened to the K3s. And latest commit, if you see like the January 25, and if you want to see more statics like in which language is written and how other things are going, so maybe you can go for the CLO monitor of the same. So maybe you can find statics according to days, and we can search more things like how the documentation issues, pull request, and what are other stuff is going on for that. So that's more on the project side. You can just search it anytime. For now, I'll just go through with the one more thing, that is okay, if you will check about the dev state score for the K3s, so that is also fine. So what I did is I just click on this, so that's where it will just give you the main scores or the how the contributions or activities happening for the projects. So you can check it for any project from the CNCF landscape. But if you see for K3, it's usually growing from starting. So if you see like it's growing day by day, or it's having a lot of contributors and the PRs coming in. So in the future it will be having a more things coming in. But now let's get started. So when you want to just get started very quickly with K3s, I would suggest you to just go to k3s.io. That's the website, and you will find the QR code in your screens also. That's what is already attached. So if you see like this is a certified Kubernetes distribution built for IoT and edge computing. So mainly it's lightweight, so it's not something you can only run it on like the edge computing also, but you can run it on anywhere. Okay, so it's so lightweight, like you can install it via just command, just simple command. If you run this command, you are just all set to have your nodes, and then you will have the particular single node Kubernetes clusters running for you. Okay, but what's what make it so faster? You have to understand that first thing, like what make K3s so faster, and why we have to manage other stuff. Let's say when you install Kubernetes, so you have to either you just go with the approaches like kind or minikube or something like that. But again, that's also take time. It's not something that's easy like K3s. Okay, so what's the major difference it's coming when you are using K3s? So we're going to discuss it today. Okay, so this is great for edge computing, IoT, CIs. Like if you want to test something on the CI pipeline, something like that, you can just do it. ERM type of infra that you're having any machines, you can search like do on that. If you are having any use case that's using IoT, let's say you just want to run a K3s cluster on an Arduino Uno board, you can do that. easily. Okay. And if it comes to the edge computing, like if you are having some like you have bought some GPUs and where you want to do some fun activities, or you want to just test it out like Kubernetes stuff, just try it with K3s because it will be so easy for you to test it anywhere. Now let's come to the thing is like why use K3s, because if there is already Kubernetes available, why we are going with the K3s? Okay, the major thing is like this is the only solution that's the perfect for the edge. Okay, so I would say like it's a best solution for the edge because it's you can use it in a single mode also. If you want to do with a HA or something like that, you can do that. Okay, it's not that complex, like it's not you can't do more stuff with it. It's simplified and secure, like it's already a package that is lesser than 70 MB. Okay, so if you assume like lesser than 70 MB, even if you install an app in your phone that is more than 70 MB nowadays. So if it's less than 70 MBs, then you can assume like how easy it is and how minimalistic is it to use, install, and i- run and update. Optimized for the ARM. So I already told like it's best for the ARM type of systems. Okay, now if you see like how it works, so how things work for K3s is something like it's the same architecture you have seen here. You might be aware like the same kind of architecture we get in the Kubernetes. Okay, so you can just compare it with that only. So before moving to this, let me just go through with the Kubernetes architecture. Okay, so you will be just relating the stuff for the K3s and for Kubernetes. So if you see the cluster architecture for Kubernetes, you do have a control plane, you do have nodes, and the cluster is there, and then you have cloud provider APIs. Okay, once it's come to the cloud, so it's have the cloud provider APIs too. Now the things like in K3s, if you compare the same thing, so it's have K3s server, it's have K3s agent. Server you can take same as a control plane in Kubernetes. So the same way we have a control plane is Kubernetes, the same way in K3s we do have a K3s server. The same way we do have a nodes in the cluster for the Kubernetes, the same way you will be having agents here. Okay, so whatever components is residing in the Kubernetes cluster, mainly in the control plane or the I would say the master or the server nodes, basically the same way it will be having those stuff here, but some of the things is already divided, or maybe it's just different. Let me just go through with them. So if you see here, we do have here one thing that is if you see here, we do have here kine and flannel. So kine and flannel, so what are these things? Okay, so the kine is something like you can say a light data, basically a store for K3s. In Kubernetes we do have a etcd. Instead of etcd like key value store, we are using here kine. So that's where things are basically making a different for you, because etcd is so huge, etcd is so it's so huge, and then it's so like complex to maybe when it comes to do your like sharding, or maybe when you are getting more data and then deploying it, managing it. So it's so hard to do, or maybe it's so huge when it is deployed. That's why to making things simpler, we are using kine here. So kine actually like made of SQL DBs, I would say. So it just store whatever data you are storing, it's an SQL DB as a directly as a data store. Okay, and then you have here flannel. So flannel is something uh, that is actually used for so if you see, we have proxy, we have flannel, and then it's going or making the call from kubelet. Okay, so it's default CNI, I would say, for this K3s server. And the Kubernetes the same way, we do have here etcd, we do have here kube API server, controller manager, scheduler. But instead of using other CNIs, K3s uses the flannel layer. So whenever any, let's say from whenever any calls happen, so let's say you're writing any command, and then you just put a command like kubectl deploy this particular service for me. And so that particular service would start from the first thing, that's API server, that's the supervisor, I would say. And that's where it's just basically sending the request from the server to the agent. Okay, so the first request go to API server, then it decides from the controller manager and the kind. So once it gets the request to the kind, like so let's say you're deploying one service, you just put the command. So on the time that command will be stored, or the command output will be stored in the kind first, and then it will give the same output to controller manager. Now controller manager will decide what to do with that. Okay, the same way actually we do in Kubernetes, like so this particular request should go to where, it should be deployed to which node. So now it will be putting that particular resource in the pending state, and then it will send the request to scheduler, and scheduler will decide like, okay, on which node we do have some space available or something like that. And then accordingly the request will flow from this particular process to the agent, or I would say the node ones. And in the node, if you see, like, we do have again kubelet and the proxy, that's the kube proxy, and the Flanel. So Flanel is already available here because that's the default CNI we do use. And then once everything is set up, it actually sends the request to the container D. So, and now the container D is something like that actually helps you to spin up the pods. Okay, so that's where the things are getting sorted, like, because you do have the server here, you do have the agent here, so you can take it like the same way like we do use in the normal Kubernetes architecture. Okay, so that's cool. Now if you want to get started directly with the K3s, so how you can do that, maybe let's jump to that. So what I'll do is, let's maybe I'll open this too, and maybe let's go to the docs. So if you click on the docs, you will find the whole documentation for the K3s, and that is so cool. Like, it's so easy to go through and easy to deploy once you start with documentation. So like, we have already gone through, like, it's easy to install, half the memory, and all in the binaries less than 100 MB. So when I say binaries 100 less than 100 MB, so you can go to like k3s.io or K3s itself, and you can find the whole releases. So the latest version is version 1.31 on point 5. And if you see like how much MBs it's taking, so it's just 66 MB, so less than 70 MB, I would say. Okay, so that's how cool it is. So if you want to install it, just take this binary. You can do this way also. Or if you don't want to just take this binary, you can, what you can do is you can just directly jump right away into the documentation, start from there. Okay, so it's again have explained like it's great for these all of use cases, and then it's explaining like what is K3s. So it's explaining like what is K3s, like it's having a lot of, I would say, additional things, like it distributed a single binary, it's lightweighted data store. So as we discussed, like there was a Kine. So Kine is something I talked about, like it's a SQLite 3 database store that is similar kind of things do at CD, but it's not the same thing as at CD because it's so lightweighted. Okay, and if you see here, it's wrapped in a simple launcher that handles a lot of complex TLS and options. Okay, so once you install the K3s, so it's come with a lot of resources that is backed by itself. Okay, and that's what it making it more simpler to install and to do the stuff with your cluster and with your work. Okay, so it's secure by default. Okay, so when I say it's secure, so it's again lightweighted, it's having so it's consumed so less memory and so CPUs, but still when it's come to deploying, it don't take much memory CPUs and don't take much time. So you can take it like you are just running a container. Okay, that's like you are running Docker run, or maybe you're just starting a container. So the same time it will take to start the whole cluster itself. So now when it comes to the packages and dependency easy, or if you see here, so with help of K3s, all of these things you will get. So if you remember, like in Kubernetes, like normally in the kube system namespace, we able to find a lot of by default stuff that comes within the cluster itself. So that can be your container D, the like the any CNI, the core DNS, or any load balance, something like that. The same things you will be finding here. So, but the packages are already so like it's have already dependencies are there, but this is something like have already compressed. Okay, so it's not like it's taking much of your memory CPUs, or the package is so much or big. It's nothing like that. So maybe let's go to the quick start guide. So this quick start guide will show you like how you have to install the K3s, and then uh, if you are installing it for the first time, I would suggest like the best part should be to install it with this particular script. So if you see, like, the installation script is a convenient way to install as a service system D. So what it do in backend is like, so when you get run this, so it will take the package and it will install that particular K3s as a system D service. So that will be behaving as a daemon now than on your PC itself. Okay, so if you want to start your particular cluster, then you can do it. You want to stop, you can do that, and that is like making things more simpler for you. So if you are having no prior idea for Kubernetes, for like Docker or anything, doesn't matter at all. It's just like just with the help of some of commands, you can just get started. Okay, So after running this installation, it's saying like the K3s service will be configured automatically, restart after node reboots. So once we run this command, everything will be set up for you. Just you will get some kubeconfig file, that's the this location. And if you want to change, if you want to do some changes by your own, you can do that. Okay. Or let's say if you have a requirement like I want to install it in particular options. Let's say you have a system that is supporting maybe x86-64 or like the ARM or the S390, so you can do those stuff too. Okay, so you have to come to this particular installation and the requirements page, and you can find those stuff here. So if you see like it's giving the for the SUSE Linux, OpenSUSE, or if you're having RHEL, CentOS, Fedora, you can go with them. If you have Ubuntu or Debian kind of systems, you can like check all of these requirements whatever it's asking. And if you are going with any Raspberry Pi or any IoT type of things, so you have to just follow these all of the whatever requirements mentioned here. So currently I guess we are like for me like we are going for Ubuntu, so maybe let's go with that. So what's the requirements asking? So if you see it's saying like the server should be having at least 2 GB of RAM, and the CPU should be 2 cores and the 512 MB. So that is like so less, like even though if you have any PC, or maybe I would say any server you are deploying on the cloud, so that should be having these kind of setup is already there. Okay, then if you see like we do have disks, so we have server side guiding. So for the server side guiding, it's saying like, so if you have seen here, we do have the K3s server, K3s agent. So it's talking about here about the K3s server. So what things you should be kept on mind when you're talking about the master of K3s. Okay, so for the K3s master, we need at least RAM, that is the 4 GB, and the 4 GB RAM, and the virtual CPU is 2. Number of agent can be run around 0 to 350, something like that. So there's a lot of stuff that's actually will be going through, and you have to basically take care of those while you're deploying your K3s for the first time, or maybe you are later on going through with the multi architecture of it. Okay, before jumping to the other stuff, maybe let's get started with some hands-on and maybe install K3s for the first time. So I do have here one like the Linux machine that is already on the cloud, and then what I'm doing is I'm just running the same command is given there. So once you hit this command, it will just go and just get the k3s.io from this particular link, and it will just install it. So if you see, it just finding the release for channel stable. It have got the same version I have showed you previously. So this was the latest version that's available now. So it's have took the latest release version from the same link, and once that is sorted uh, from this link, it actually going for downloading, and then once the binary is downloaded, it installing in the slash user bin and the K3s. So the same way we actually install any command in Linux, like you just take the package, you just move it to the command line, and once it's done, you are just installing, basically not installing, I would say like starting the service or daemon for the K3s. So once this is started, it will do most stuff for you. So let me just check if it has come with the kubectl. So the one more good thing is like, so with the same package you will get the kubectl also. So kubectl will help you to basically check all of the resources is spent. So let's say if I want to take the how much nodes are available, or things are going. So maybe let's see what it's saying. It's saying permission denied because it's needed sudo permission here. Okay, so once I did kubectl get nodes, we are able to see, okay, so it's have one particular nodes available there that's in the control plane or master, and it's just started right away. So that's how like the things are going for this. And as we discussed, like it's having the kind, flanel, and all of this stuff. Let's check it out. Maybe like the core DNS and whatever components we usually get in the normal Kubernetes cluster, so those are available here or not. Okay, so like while we are checking those, you have to make sure like you already have some idea about the like mainly Kubernetes, and then how the things actually works in main Kubernetes. So accordingly you will be able to relate this stuff, like okay, now these things, okay, I'm able to get or something like that. So if you check like kubectl that ns, okay, again I'm just missing the sudo thing. Okay, so if you see like the default namespace we are getting is like all of these. Let's go to kube system first and check what's we are missing here. Okay, so if you see in Cube system, we do have all of this stuff already available here. So the same thing you get in Kubernetes server. So it's like the Cube DNS. We do have a metric server. We do have a service called traffic. That's the load balancer type, and then we can go directly and check other stuff. Like if you see here, like we do have the job that is the helm install traffic. So when you installed it, so that's where these jobs actually performed, and then that's where like where from the all of the YAML that's needed, and those actually came from. Okay, so that's one. And uh, 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 um, what else we are missing? Okay, maybe let's go to once Q public and see what's. Okay, there's nothing in Q public for now because yeah, it's have nothing came by default here. Yeah, okay, so that is good. Apart from that, let's say if like if you have already set up the like the single node cluster, and then you want to just what you want to do like maybe deploy any app, so we can do that also. So for now, like I'm just going with the simple application, or maybe I would say a normal Nginx application. So let's try to deploy that first. And so I'm already having, okay, wait a minute. Yep, I'm already having one YAML, so I'm just pasting it out for you, and then let's go. It should be having one issue. Let me fix it. Yep. Okay, so we have got one deployment. Let me just put one service also, so at least we are able to. Uh, 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 um, okay, that's one. Mm, Dash.yaml. Okay, so that's good, I guess. So maybe we can just deploy all of them. It will need again sudo permission, just kubectl apply. Then we do have two files here, the text and then it's Nginx YAML. Kubectl, what we are missing? Wait a minute. Okay, and then it will take now the Nginx one. So that should be good. I guess we can check if the resources are up or not. Mm, okay, so if you see like the pod that's actually running, and then we do have a service type of load balancer. So yeah, I have created load balancer of service, so at least I can show you something going on the web, like how the things are working for you. So that's there. And then if you see like we do have a deployment, and we have replica set. So whatever same stuff you get in normal Kubernetes cluster, so that's the same way you can deploy this stuff here, and then you can just get your hand dirty. So the major reason why the K3 is actually implemented, or actually it's come in picture, is like, so you have a lot of scenarios, like you have a lot of use cases where you just want to test something out, or you want to just get the things ready for you, and then you want to just start pitching for the things. Maybe anyone who is starting with the Kubernetes itself, okay, so they can just easily have their own lab on setup, and then from there they can start doing the things. So that's the main actually reason like the K3s actually came in picture. And uh, okay, so I guess yeah, it will take time for load balancer to came in. Maybe we can just jump into the other stuffs. So whatever actually is pending for us to cover for today. Okay, so if you see, like we have already gone through with the quick start guide, and then like you do have a ready your own, like the single node cluster is available there. So if you see, it's saying like a kubeconfig file will be written to /etc rancher and the k3s.yaml, and kubectl installed by k3s will automatically use it. So this file is already available there, but you're not able to see it, okay, because it is already in use. So maybe we can just check it out, like if it's available and then what's written out there. Okay, it's again needed. So if you see, it's again like the same kubeconfig file it was talking about. We do have that kubeconfig file available here. So usually in the Kubernetes cluster, that's you can find, but it's easily like it's not that easy. Like you have to deploy it, okay, you have to use it and then apply the context, and then you can just fetch the resources from the Kubernetes. But for this case, it's already using it in internally, and then they have showed it like, okay, you can just go and if you want to change something, you want to change any server port, you want to don't want to run locally, but let's say you want to run on any other servers, or you want to fetch server stuff from anywhere else, you can do that. Okay, so if you see, like the server, the class certificate is this one, and we are getting the other stuff also, like the client key and the certificate data. So this will be used when you will be going for like the high level architecture from the K3s. So on the time it will be used for us, okay, but not now, but on the time you can use these kind of stuff. So if you see, like for the single service solution, it's fully Kubernetes cluster, but it's when you're trying to go for agent node. So what are the agents we have already discussed? So K3 agent is like someone, like if you're trying to pitch something in, maybe you are trying to, you have a control plane and then you want to just add more nodes to it. So on that time you will be having agents. So for adding the agents, that process is so simple. So if you see, like what you have to do is the same k3s.io, and you have to provide your k3s server URL. So this is your server where the first control plane is installed. So that will be here. And once this is done, you will be going through for the token. So this token you have to pass from your server itself. The token you can find at let me show you quickly. Yeah, so k3s token you can find here at this location. Maybe let's check it out quickly. So it will be easy for you if you're going for a high available architecture kind of thing. Okay, let me just put a sudo. Okay, so this is the K3s token, or I would say the agent token that's you have to use. So in this token, if you see, like the first is the key, and then it's saying like this is, and for the server identification, it's giving another uh, base64 encoded bits. Okay, so that's how like it will be knowing. Okay, so this particular server I have to use. One major thing that you need to focus on, like so it's using port that is 6443, that you have to allow if there is any security or any firewalls kind of stuff you have in your servers. Okay, so that's the one. And maybe if we go to the configuration options, and also for now, if you see, like for the quick start, we have just used this command and everything is set up. Now let's say you have a scenario where what you want to do is you have your flannel, you have your kind, you have your scheduler or maybe API servers, but now there is a requirement like you want to give your databases, or you want to use a database to particular like you want to use EBS, or maybe you want to use your own database itself. The instead of flannel you want to use other CNI because this is the default one. So all of those kind of stuff you can do by your own, but for them you need to provide a different configurations. Okay, so those configurations you can change it from directly going in the configuration section. And if you see here, like it's already given, like so let's say you do have a requirement like uh, so if you see here, like it's giving like flannel backend that is none, and the token is this and this. So maybe you have a particular requirement like you want to give a flannel backend, but that should be, it's not having service assume below because there is no k3s URL. Okay, so something like that. Or maybe if you see like when registering an agent, the following command all results are in the same behavior. So you can find on internet, like, or maybe if you are searching on like the any AI tool, so you will find different commands there. But at the last, it will be working as the same, because if you see agents like has already written like in the comment section, because all of these commands work like same. The first thing they will do is like they will take the K3s and they're gonna install it. Okay, but now if you see here, like the variables, or I would say the environment variable, those are only changing. So in K3s, it's already defined, like if you get this variable or instead of another variable, they have to take it forward. Okay, so you can check it, like the for more details you can check the environment variable here. So in any other like if you're using other variables, then you have to be aware, like, okay, so that's from that variable should be matching. Okay, and accordingly you have to just pass it on to the next underlying directories. Okay, let's come to the configurations from the binary. So if you are trying to install it from, like, you are a guy, like you want to just write the YAML from very scratch for the K3s, and you want, like, okay, instead of doing simpler thing, I want to do the same stuff we do with minikube. So we define our resources, we define our the networking part, we define our uh, like the memory source and other stuff. If you want to do the same way, you can do that. What you have to do is just write, you have to write one YAML file, and that YAML file should be like by default it actually uses this one. But if you want to go with the like the config YAML, and then you want to create this particular YAML, or maybe you want to change some stuff, you can do that. So what it's doing, basically write kubeconfig mode, that is 0644. So if you will apply this particular YAML, this particular YAML will be having the mode, or I would say the YAML will be representing it's as a like the code, like this is like it's having the return permission also. So you have to be aware, like, so what permission you are giving on which time, and then you have to change those. Let's say you have multiple YAML files, or maybe you want to change some permissions accordingly, so you can do that. And maybe you have some taints tolerations or other stuff, you can apply to the configuration itself. Okay, so that's one. And there will be another use case, like, okay, you want to run some private registries. Okay, so on the time, how it will handle, because let's say you will say like, I'm ready to use K3s, but how about like if I'm having my own registry, private registry, can I do that? You can do that easily. You have to just go to this K3s registry.yaml. Even we have got a lot of files here, if you see, and on these files you can change the stuff for you. So if I do sudo ls and this particular folder, so currently there's only one YAML, that is the k3s.yaml. But wait a minute, there should be more. Okay, so if you see there's k3s and we have node. So this particular YAML actually have all of the info for the registries YAML. If you're not having this, maybe you can create one for according to your need. Like, so whatever registry, private registry information you're having, you can put it there and then you can use it. Let's say if there is something that you are creating a mirror. Okay, you have some registries there, but what you want to do is like you are pushing something, but there is another mirror you're creating. So you can put the mirrors also here. Okay, so that's one. And the other stuff is given, like maybe with TLS, how you can use it without TLS, if your load is there. But if you want to use them with TLS or without TLS, so how those things will work for you, so you can maybe just uh go through this once. So that should be good. I'm just checking. Okay, so if before some time we have deployed one service Nginx, but yeah, like it's already deployed. I'm damn sure like there must be something missing from my end at the load balance side. So that's why the external IP is still in pending state. Maybe I'll check it later on. So that's not a big deal. And apart from that, we do have some embedded registries, OCR registries, or something like that. So if you are not going with any private registry, you can go with the embedded registry. And one more thing I just wanted to highlight here. So installing K3s is simpler, but when it comes to upgrade or uninstalling it, it's again more easier for that. So maybe if you are trying to uninstall it, because what happens is like whenever we do some POCs or whenever we do some labs kind of testing kind of things, we just install this stuff. Let's take an example of Minikube. So once you install Minikube, it's so easy to install. You install a different components, like you're installing Docker, you're installing other stuff, and then you're installing kubectl, and you're installing like whatever basic requirement was there. But when it comes to uninstallation, there are a lot of pieces that is already divided, and then you're not able to just collect all the pieces and uninstall it. So that's where K3s, like it's so easy to install. So what you would do is, like, you have to just run this particular command there, catch install.sh, and that should be all set for you, because it just installed as an agent, and that is like a daemon. That agent is like a daemon for you, so that should be good. So that's one. And as we discussed, like, how about like cluster data store? So K3s uses kind type of like setup instead of etcd or something. So it is store the data, but what if instead of using embedded SQLite, you want to use something else? Okay, so for that purpose, you can just pass, or maybe you can just use other DBs also. Let's say if you are using any data store endpoint, let's say PostgreSQL, MySQL, MariaDB, or etcd, you can use those data stores also, but you have to just pass those credentials to the, like, the config file that we saw it earlier. Okay, so that's one. And yeah, here it comes with the cluster load balancer. So it actually come with its own like load balancer that's supported from the flannel CNI itself. Okay, so that's where like the flannel helps it like to create its own ALB, and then it's actually traffic sends the load to it. That's one. And let's say today is we were available on this particular version. Maybe tomorrow you have already installed it, and you are seeing some of the issues you are facing for the previous version that's already removed, or maybe that have solved, or maybe something new has came. You want to check it out, so you can upgrade K3s without like harming the previous running cluster, or previous things were there. Okay, so like how you can do that? Just come here and then, like, check for the updates. So, like, if you see, it's checking for the existing K3s environment, and it's taking existing K3s argument. So these you have to pass, and then you are all set. If you want to stop the K3s, so again it comes as a service only. So if you want to stop it, or you want to restart it, so you can do that. So let's say I'm trying to just stop it. So now K3 is stopped. If we will check our nodes, or I'll check my services, so I will not be able to find anything, because see, it's saying like the 6443 port is refused because nothing is running there. Okay, and if I want to again start the service, I can do that just like this. So that should be all good. And if you see your resources, so see, everything was fine and running for you, because K3s actually comes as a daemon, like it's just an agent or service, I would say, and then it just solid. But maybe there's some requirement you want to just stop some agents only, but not the whole K3s, or not the control plane I'm saying. Okay, so what you want to do is, in this case, you are just focusing on mainly on the agent part. There's something like missing, or maybe something you have did and that's not working correctly. So what you want to do is, you want to down this particular portion, but still the K3 server should be running. So on the time, what you can do is, you can just come here, you can just stop the agents only, instead of like putting the whole master things down. Okay, so that's one. Then you have some upgrade stuff coming on, like, the if you want to set up some automated upgrade, you can do that. Okay, you have to just apply this particular controller YAML itself. So this controller YAML, or the plan, that's the kindest plan, so that will take care of the whenever the new upgrade is coming. So it will check on the registry, and then it will pull it. Okay, so that's how it will take the things for you. And there are other stuff like the security hardening. So if you are more into security guy, like you want to just do more of the CIS stuff, so you can just more go dig into this. And then, yeah, this architecture, I guess we are already going through. But if you see, like, this is the server and agents, like this is a multi-node architecture. If you are just trying to do it with the embedded DB or something like that, you can do it. Like, so even you have your K3s user, so you can just put the DB aside of the server, and then you can use it, something like that. And if you're going for a high availability architecture for the K3s, you can do that too. So you will be having those agents available there, and the servers, and accordingly you can balance the load, and the external traffic can become. Okay, so that's uh, how it is. the networking, if you see like the major part, that's actually you need to know about it because there are a lot of stuff to cover. But if you see the major part of the networking, then it's like the flannel options, because flannel is the default CNI it's using, or maybe I would say a CNI plugin that's is it's using. So if you have some requirement, like you want to go some IPv6 masking or any other stuff, you can just put it, or maybe just try it from here. Maybe you have a like configuration, like you don't want to use flannel and you want to go with your own CNI. Okay, you want to go with Calico, you want to go with Canal or Cilium or something like that, you can do that too. Okay, so you have to just disable some network policies and apply it to the this one, like the CNI itself, and just apply the CNI config list, whatever CNI you are trying to use. Okay, and I guess, yeah, like you can do use this for the distributed hybrid or multi-cloud cluster also. So if you have something is available on the, like, you have a requirement, like maybe you are having some agents that is on the different nodes, but you want to control it from your own local system itself, you can do that too, because in the agents you are just passing your server IPs, but that should be actually you should talk each other. Okay, so that's the one thing you need to take care of, like they should be in the same network, or maybe um, somewhere around it's on the public URL, so at least your DNS is resolving. So that's the only thing you need to take care of. And apart from that, I guess there is nothing much. If you see here, like the advanced options configurations, so even in the chat I can see a lot of questions are coming related to these. So maybe like this would be the perfect guide for you, like if you are having some out of the box kind of scenarios. Okay, so you can deploy it, or maybe you can test it out from the, like the, if you want to use your own certificate managed authorities or CSA, or you want to use some proxies. Okay, so you can do it directly from here. If you want to use Docker as runtime, like you are saying like I'm already more aligned with the Docker and I don't want to use the container D, the default runtime is coming with this, so you can use that too with this, because it's not something it's have already blocked it, or it's not using it. You can do that. And if you want to use your own ALB ingress or something like that, yeah, that's also you can do. uh, so yeah, apart from that, I guess everything is cool on this side, and then that's all about K3s from my end. Yep.
All right. Thank you very much. Not a lot of questions today. Oh, actually, hold on. We have a few. Huh.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
questions weren't refreshing. All right. Let's start with this one here first. Why K3s instead of Minikube for testing?
Okay, so like as we already have seen the demo and the other part, like do so when you install or when you go with the mini cube, so maybe you need to take care of a lot of things. You need to install the kube cutter, you need to have the Docker, the container D, or maybe whatever containerization tool you're using, and then you have to set up the mini cube setup itself. Okay, so it's taking a lot of time, but with if it comes to K3s, it's that lightweight. Like with help of this particular one command, it's up. If you want to keep it down, you can just uninstall it and just again one command. If you want to just like maybe stop it, just to use systemctl, the same thing you could do use in Linux. Okay, so starting and stopping a daemon. So you can go with Minikube, but when it's come to K3s, it's again more lightweighted than Minikube. Okay, so that's the like major reason it's even included in the like the whole landscape itself. So yep.
Okay. Next question. Can we use a Docker container as actual nodes in vanilla K3s like how you can do in K3D?
Yeah, we can do that. Even though I just showed it, it's in here. So if you have a requirement like you want to use a Docker containers as a runtime, you can do that.
Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yep, directly. You have to just follow some steps, and then that should be fine.
Dope. All right. Here's a good one. Using
Yeah, it's a
K3s
complete.
in production. I know some people are. What's
Yeah.
your
Actually, yeah, some people are using it, and then I'm not sure like how things are working for them. But like
yeah.
actually, you can use it because it's having some a lot of high availability architecture available there. So by default, it came so minimal. It came so lightweighted. But according to your requirement, let's say you are trying to spin up things, like you want to spin up more HCD, you want to spin up more load to it, you want to
Yeah.
change the CNI. So all of those pluggable things are available. So if but the only stuff is you have to try it out, because it's not something everything is already set up for you. You have to try things by your own. You have to set up the custom whole cluster for you if you're going for the production level environment.
Okie dokie. I know some people certainly are. How can we set up a proxy for K3s API server?
Yeah,
That's a
that's
good
a
one.
good one actually.
That's a
So
good
yeah,
one.
like even you can do that easily. Like for the if you are trying to do a proxy server with the K3s. So we have talked this in the talk itself, but again, maybe just let me show you.
Yep.
So yeah, this is the here the configurations available here. So you have any requirement like you want to set up some proxy from this itself, just go through this k3server.env or agentservice.env and put your service IPs or the DNS entries, whatever you have. Okay, and accordingly, it will start serving those particular I would say the proxies, but don't forget to restart or maybe just refresh the K3s after updating these files as it
Yeah,
won't be
yeah. So
affected.
so after you do this, do you just turn the service on, you think?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Or
once
bounce
is
the service,
yeah,
I
or
mean,
bounce the
because you're
server.
just setting the
Yeah,
environment
exactly.
files.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just restart it. I would say like the refresh,
Yeah.
basically a quick refresh. So at least whatever changes you applied, so it should be done.
Right. And that was the last question. Any we finished a little bit early. We got any last minute questions? We'll give it a minute, and if not, we'll close it out. This is so one of the reasons I love this tool is very straightforward. It's pretty much just get me a cluster up and running
Yeah,
with like the API.
just in
That's
Kubernetes. Even though even though
yeah,
you are not familiar with Kubernetes or you are a non-tech guy, you can just run it and use it like a
yeah.
pro. Yep.
All right. So we got the thanks there going. Thank you very much. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut out and you get the last word, and then we'll see everyone next week.
Okay, see you everyone.
I mean, is there anything you want to say? You got an outro? Are you just gonna
Nothing much. Like I'm good.
okay. All right, everybody. We'll see everyone next